I don't even think we need to do any graphics for this video. We don't need to do screenshots. We don't need to take a look at any ensuing arguments. I just wanted to talk about the Canucks. Because yesterday, Vancouver lost against Detroit, and you know, in the post-game video we made about the game, we talked about the Wings, we talked about how they're on the 6-game winning streak, we talked about Filipino and his debut with the Vancouver Canucks, we talked about Marcus Pettersson, we talked about Elias Pettersson, the defenseman, who had scored his first NHL point. But this video is going to talk about the other Elias Pettersson. We're talking about Elias Pettersson, and I think, for me personally, I'm going to start referring to PD, EP40, EP116, as a lot of people like to call him, as Elias Pettersson, just because it differentiates from Elias Pettersson and Marcus Pettersson. It's so difficult with all the names. I was getting a little bit confused at times yesterday during the broadcast, oh, there's Pettersson on defense. Wait, is that Marcus or Elias? And yeah, it's not the easiest, but we'll get used to it as time goes on. Believe me, I think it's going to happen. Anyways, I wanted to talk about Elias Pettersson today because there's been a pretty good chunk of Vancouver Canucks fans I've seen over the past 24, 48 hours asking whether or not the Vancouver Canucks made a mistake, asking whether or not the Canucks traded the wrong guy. You're having people like Ryan Whitney go out there and say on social media that if I was a Canucks fan, I'd be pissed. You're having a lot of other Canucks fans sparking debates amongst themselves as to whether or not Elias Pettersson has it in him to be the leader and to be that top-tier superstar that Patrick Allvin wants him to be, that he himself wants him to be, and that we as fans all demand him to be. Because JT Miller, in his 2 games played with the New York Rangers so far, has 2 goals against Boston, 2 assists against Vegas. He's got 4 points in 2 games played. And Elias Pettersson is not doing that. Ever since the trade which sent JT Miller over to New York, the Vancouver Canucks have played 2 games. Pettersson has 1 point. He is a -2 on the contest, and the Canucks lost both of the games. In fact, yesterday you can say that Pettersson, in overtime, had a chance to fully take over and be that dude, that top-tier guy, as he had himself a 2-on-1 rush with Besser in OT. And I saw a lot of people criticizing Pettersson for that particular play, using it as sort of an indicator as to how his entire season has gone. Because PD on the 2-on-1 tried to snipe it on goaltender Alex Lyon, and he ended up missing the net. The Canucks then lost the game in overtime a little bit later. Now, I will say, in that particular instance, Pettersson was at the end of a long shift. Him and Besser were out there for a while. They were kind of gassed. And so, Pettersson not having the precision to snipe a puck on the rush, okay, I can understand it. But a lot of people have gone out there and discussed whether or not PD is going to take that next step. We had talked about this earlier in the year, but when Miller had his leave of absence, by the way, that in which we're going to talk about a little bit more because there always seems to be extra information about that night, but when JT Miller was out of the Canucks lineup for a month on his leave of absence, that is when Pettersson started to play better. Maybe not to the same 100-point capacity like he had done in the past, but that stint of hockey was probably the best hockey he had played from February 2024 up until February 2025. That one stint in November was the best hockey he had played. And so it stands to reason that, okay, this JT Miller trade is an addition by subtraction kind of move. Not only do you get Filipino and Marcus Pettersson and all these extra things, but you get rid of a guy who is apparently on Pettersson for a while. And Pettersson will play better now that he's gone, right? But the thing is, now, taking a look at how Miller has been succeeding and taking a look at how Pettersson has, quite frankly, not taken over this team, I'm not saying he's playing badly. I'm saying that he's not taken over the team. It is kind of interesting to see Canucks fans bounce back so quickly and start saying things like, oh yeah, the Canucks lost it. They shouldn't have traded Miller away. They traded away the wrong guy. Pettersson can't be that guy. Because ultimately, I do think that Elias Pettersson has been fine in these games. He has been trying to set up plays, and he's been doing well defensively. He gets involved, and his head is in the game, but he has not taken over just yet. And I don't know if it's because Canucks fans are impatient or because they're doing the whole comparison thing. Hey, look at JT. He's got 4 points in 2 games. He has taken over this team. Like, I know there's an instinctual, immediate reaction to start talking about whether or not the Canucks made the right move. But I do think we just have to wait a little bit because we had some updates. We can talk about this more in a later video, but there were some extra updates about Pettersson and the trade situation, how the Canucks want to evaluate a little bit longer, how they don't want to rush into making any sort of a deal right away because they need to see what Pettersson can do away from Miller. When Pettersson has all that pressure, when he is the top guy. He's supposed to be the top guy, but he hasn't really been producing, and the team, quite frankly, is still finding ways to lose around him. Now, not having Quinn Hughes also helps, and I think that may be one of the biggest deterrents in the Canucks' loss against Detroit the other night. No Quinn, no win. But Elias Pettersson, is he going to be able to get out of his own head, just start doing his dekes, and start taking over games one more time? I mean, I get it, he was playing with Miller and Besser when he would have 5-point games continuously in the earlier stages of his career. But Elias Pettersson, the top-tier point producer that we had seen earlier on, has not been there in over a calendar year. And I think about the times when he was scoring goals in his rookie season. Like, I know we did the same thing with Brock Besser. Oh yeah, remember when Brock was such a dynamic goal scorer in 2017-18, and now he is not that at all? For Pettersson, it's the same thing. Remember that goal that he had scored in his rookie season? I think it was his 10th goal in 9 games or whatever it was. 10th goal in 10 games or something. And it was against Detroit. Pettersson was walking down the left side, sprinting down the left side, and then he just absolutely loads up for a clap bomb and goes top corner, off the bar and in, on the rush. An on-the-rush slap shot from perimeter distance. Elias Pettersson's able to beat a goalie from that far out, and we're like, oh my gosh, this guy looks like Wayne Gretzky. Like, there was that entire conversation going on years ago. And then 2 seasons ago, he had 100 points, and then last year, he was number 1 in the NHL in points, tied with Miller and Hughes, with like 30 points in however many games it was to open up 23-24. Pettersson has that in him. But where the hell has it gone? Miller, I don't want to make it seem like he's all of a sudden fantastic and he's going to continuously be fantastic. You know, I said in the last video, is he ever going to be a 100-point scorer again? I don't know. But the way he's playing in New York right now, I mean, 4 points in 2 games, that's literally an over 100-point pace. Not saying that that's going to sustain itself as he is turning 32, but for right now, Miller is looking so much better out the gate post-trade than Petey is. And Petey is so much younger than Miller. I'd argue that he is more skilled. I'd argue that at his peak, he has a better shot. But at the same time, JT Miller, you know, he's playing in a different situation. He's being given minutes with Artemi Panarin, so maybe he was due to getting this kind of point production and always having the one-up over Petey. At what point does Elias Pettersson take that next step? Because if he doesn't take it soon, then oh boy, Canucks fans are going to have a field day with talking about how the Canucks management already made the wrong choice by trading the wrong guy, and then they're going to trade Pettersson for like Josh Norris or Bowen Byram or something, and then they're going to come in, and then this Canucks fan base will be all in shambles once again. This is a really precarious spot, I'd say, for the team, and I just wanted to throw that question out to you from the very early returns. 2 games played for New York, 2 games played for Vancouver, post-Miller trade. How do you feel about everything that's going down? Did the Canucks trade the wrong guy? I didn't want to use any particular tweets or talking points on social media because, trust me, it's getting really heated out there. If you just go over onto Twitter, I mean, everybody's talking about Pettersson and everything else. JT Miller's looking fantastic in New York. Question is, though, is that going to last for a whole season next year and until the guy is in his mid to late 30s? Like, I saw Frank Saravelli's hit on the Flames Nation show earlier today, and, like, he was talking smack about how Marcus Pettersson is a number 5 defenseman and everything, and how the Canucks maybe made a mistake with this trade by getting rid of Miller, a guy whom you can win with and everything, and I don't know. It's just a lot to take in. So, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Petey or Miller, yay or nay, mistake or the correct move. I personally like the trade. I like both of the trades. But it's hard to go out there and argue with the results here. 4 points in 2 games. He's looking pretty good. Thoughts in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.